If I am not mistaken, tomorrow the sun enters Sagittarius. And I want to say a few words about the sun entering Sagittarius, taken mostly from Aleister Crowley's Book of Thoth. Now, you might be a little bit confused because I'm going to probably talk 2 days about this subject, because you can't really talk about one tarot card or one zodiac sign or one planet or one element as a single subject. We're surrounded by the belt of the zodiac, okay, and we place ourselves, as we're thinking about the zodiac, we sort of place ourselves in our imagination in a, as Einstein would call it, a thought experiment. We place ourselves in the position of the sun, okay? Otherwise, we just couldn't easily keep track of us on a spinning ball and the spinning ball going around the sun and the zodiac, from our point of view, careening weirdly all complexly all over the universe from our geocentric point of view. So we literally put ourselves in the place of the sun to think about this zodiacal greater reality. It's like the difference between the pentagram ritual, which has us positioned on the surface of the earth. Hexagram rituals position us on the sun. And in order to do that, it sort of expands our mind a little bit, and that's part of the wondrous nature of the Hermetic and ceremonial magic exercises and point of views and meditations. But when we say that the sun is in Aquarius, now let's put aside for a second that the constellations themselves, as we see it with the cones and rods of our eyes, have moved away over the millennia, has moved away from their original positions. But astrologers have assigned houses in those same positions. But assuming, just for the sake of our thought experiment, assuming that when we looked at the sun and we looked past the sun at a particular time of day, year, say the equinox, the sign of Gemini, the constellation Gemini, was behind the sun. That's what we refer to when we say the sun is in Gemini. And so the idea that the influence of Gemini, the Gemini juice, the Gemini ray, is beamed through the sun, and the sun beams it on us. But directly behind us, there is a constellation that's beaming directly, a straight shot, coming at us from the back, not diluted by the sun, not filtered by the sun, not altered in any way by the sun, but it's a straight shot of Sagittarius coming right at our ass. No sunblock. So when Crowley talks about the age of Horus, that we've just entered into the age of Horus, well, astrologers would say, no, we're just entering the age of Aquarius. Yeah, Aquarius is right behind the sun there, getting filtered by the sun. Here comes the age of Aquarius. Hey. But right in back of us, a straight shot, the beast itself, Leo, is shooting us right in the back with a straight, undiluted, unfiltered shot of Leo. That's why Crowley signs his name with a Leo sign. That's why the beast, the idea of the beast 666. It isn't just the age of Aquarius, it's the age of Aquarius Leo. And hang on, I'm going to put my phone up here because I'm going to read something to you. And I'm doing this in a sense because we just entered into the sign of Sagittarius, but what we really also have entered into is the sign of Gemini. Here's what Crowley says in the Book of Thoth when he's talking about the art card or the Aquarius card. This card is the complement and fulfillment of Atu 6, which is the Lover's card. Gemini. It pertains to Sagittarius, the opposite to Gemini in the zodiac, and therefore after another manner, one with it. So Gemini is opposite to Sagittarius, and therefore after another manner, one with it. That means Aries is one with Libra, after another manner, one with it. Taurus is one with Scorpio. Gemini, one with Sagittarius. Cancer, one with Capricorn. Cancer, one with, Leo, one with Aquarius. Virgo, one with Pisces, and all vice versa. We can't think about one without thinking of the other. The Emperor and Justice are a team. The Hierophant Death is a team. Lovers and Art and Temperance, which we were talking about today, is a team. Chariot and the Devil. Lust, or Strength card, and the Star. Or if you want to start playing with it, the Emperor. And Hermit and the Moon. Now, if you want further colored insight on each of the tarot cards you might be studying, for the zodiacal ones, team them up and start studying that. Now, okay. In order for us to talk about Sagittarius, I brought my this is not my oldest deck, but it's an older one. Is this U.S. Games? Yes, it is. And I'm going to hold up two cards. I always am nervous when I take these cards into the car with me because I'm such a careless slob and spill stuff. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Gemini card. Now, of course, you're looking at this, I think, at least I'm seeing it, backwards in in our screen here because I've got the, but I want you to see that guy there. See the two lovers, the king and queen, getting married. See those two guys there. And look at these alchemical symbols of a red lion. And look at this alchemical symbol of a white eagle. They're like the best man and bridegroom there. But the white eagle, white, lunar, female, watery, eagle, watery. And the red lion, fiery, sulfur, gold, They're all happily attending the wedding ceremony. And the guy right there in the center, Crowley's going to refer to as the hermit, actually. And he's got that helix, or that's the wedding certificate on that eternal helix. And there's really the guest of honor that's getting themselves all charged up there, the Orphic egg. That'll appear later as the background of the art card. See that yellow aura in the back there? That's not just an aura, that's an egg. It's that egg after it's gone through all that magical process, but we'll talk about that in a little while. So in other words, here on the eve of drifting into Sagittarius, I'm going to start off by saying what Crowley has to say about this card. Now, with all cards of the Thoth Tarot, remember, Crowley is not only trying to reveal and remind us of the traditional associations with the tarot cards, associations that would be recognizable by any of the 19th century and 20th century Hermeticists. Crowley's not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater as far as his new age look at things. No, he's taking everything and only tweaking them where he observed that the new magical formula has now taken a step forward or improved. So he's not throwing out all the old attributes of these cards at all. Indeed, he is assuming that we already are at least fundamentally familiar with them. Otherwise, we won't understand what the change means. So, on the first day, I'm going to read what Crowley has to say about this part of the pole of Gemini-Sagittarius. Okay, hopefully I won't lose this card. I better keep it handy. The lovers, or the brothers, and it's key or Atu number 6. This card and its twin, 14, or art, or the old temperance card, are the most obscure and difficult of the Atu. Thanks, Lon. Each of these symbols is in itself double, so that the meaning form a divergent series, and the integration of the card can only be regained by repeated marriages, identifications, and some form of hermaphroditism. Yet the attribute is the essence of simplicity. Atu 6 refers to Gemini, ruled by Mercury. It means the twins. The Hebrew letter corresponding is Zion, which means a sword. And the framework of the card is therefore the Arch of Swords, beneath which a royal marriage has taken place. I think you can see the Arch of Swords along this. Well, I can't see what I'm showing you, so I'll just try to. You can see the stylized Arch of Swords. The sword is primarily an engine of division. In the intellectual world, which is the world of the sword suit, it represents analysis. This card and Atu 14, which is temperance or art, together compose the comprehensive alchemical maxim, solve et coagula. And this is the solve. All these guys have gotten together to say, okay, this is the solve part, we're doing the solve part. That egg is going to eventually hatch into absolute new life, new creation, new universe, new dimension, new everything. But right now, it has to undergo an initial process of solve. This card is consequently one of the most fundamental cards in the tarot. It is the first card in which more than one figure appears. The Ape of Thoth appears in Atu 1, or the Magician, or the Magus card, but the ape is only a shadow of the Magus. In its original form, it was the story of creation. Here is appended, for its historical interest, the description of the card in its primitive form from Liber 418. Now, what I'm going to read you from this quote is taken from a vision that Crowley received, an Enochian vision, in the document called The Vision and the Voice. There is an Assyrian legend of a woman with a fish, and also there is a legend of Eve and the serpent. For Cain was the child of Eve and the serpent, and not of Eve and Adam. And therefore, when he had slain his brother, who was the first murderer, having sacrificed living things to his demon, had Cain the mark upon his brow, which is the mark of the beast, spoken of in Apocalypse, and is the sign of initiation. The shedding of blood is necessary, for God did not hear the children of Eve until blood was shed. And that is external religion. Okay, that's how the story goes in the narrative. But Cain spake not with God, nor had the mark of initiation on his brow, so that he was shunned by all men until he had shed blood. And this blood was the blood of his brother. This is the mystery of the sixth key of the tarot, the lovers, which ought not to be called the lovers, but the brothers. In the middle of the card, and this is still the quote from Liber 418, in the middle of the card stands Cain. In his right hand is a hammer of Thor, with which he had slain his brother. Let's see if I can get it up there. There we go. See the hammer? Well, it's a club there. So. And Abel there has a bunch of cabbages in his hand. Okay. And it is all wet with his blood. And his left hand he holds open as the sign of innocence. On his right hand is his mother Eve, around whom the serpent is entwined with his hood spread behind her. And on the left is the figure somewhat like the Hindu Kali, but much more seductive. Yet I know it to be Lilith. See the women in the corner there? Okay. And above him is the great sigil of the arrow, downward. But it is struck through the heart of the child. Now, this is not quite, this is the vision and not quite that card. This child is also able. And the meaning of this part of the card is obscure. Thank you. But that is the correct drawing of the tarot card. And that is the correct magical fable from which the Hebrew scribes, who are not yet complete initiates, stole their legend of the fall and the subsequent events. Unquote. It is very significant that almost every sentence in this passage seems to reverse the meaning of the previous one. This is because reaction is always equal and opposite to action. This equation is, or should be, simultaneous in the intellectual world, where there is no great time lag. The formation of any idea creates its contradictory at almost the same moment. This contradictory of any proposition is implicit in itself. This is necessary to preserve the equilibrium of the universe. The theory has been explained in the essay on Atu 1, or the Magnus card, which is also called the juggler, but now must be emphasized in order to interpret this card. The key is that the card represents the creation of the world. The hierarchs held this secret as of transcendent importance. Consequently, the initiates who issued the tarot for use during the Aeon of Osiris superseded the original card above described in The Vision and the Voice. They were concerned, that's the old Aeon adepts, they were concerned to create a new universe of their own. They were the fathers of science. Their methods of their methods of working grouped under the genetic term alchemy. Let's see here. Okay. Their methods of their own, they were the fathers of science. Their methods of working, grouped under the generic term alchemy, have never been made public. The interesting point is that all developments of modern science in the last 50 years have given intelligent and instructed people the opportunity of reflecting that the whole trend of science has been to return to alchemical aims and methods. And I don't think, if properly understood, our quantum mathematicians would have to agree. The secrecy observed by alchemists was made by the power of the persecuting churches. Bitterly as bigots fought among themselves, they were all equally concerned to destroy the infant science, which, as they instinctively recognized, would put an end to the ignorance and faith on which their power and wealth depended. The subject of this card is analysis. That's capital analysis, followed by synthesis. The first question asked by science is, of what are things composed? This having been answered, the next question is, how shall we recombine them to our greater advantage? This resumes the whole policy of the tarot. The hooded figure, which occupies the center of the card, is another form of the hermit, who is further explained in Atu 9. That's the hermit card. He is himself a form of the god Mercury, described in the Magus card. He is closely shrouded, as if to signify that the ultimate reason of things lies in a realm beyond manifestation and beyond intellect. As elsewhere explained, only two operations are ultimately possible: analysis and synthesis. And remember, we're talking about solve et coagula. He is standing in the sign of the Inter, as if projecting the mysterious force of creation. About his arms is a scroll indicative of the word, which is alike his essence and his message. But the sign of the Inter is also the sign of benediction and of consecration. And thus his action in this card is the celebration of a hermetic marriage. Behind him are the figures of Eve, Lilith, and Cupid, or Eros. This symbolism has been incorporated in order to preserve in some measure the original form of the card, and to show its derivation, its heirship, and its continuity with the past. On the quiver of Cupid is inscribed the word Thelema, which is the word of the law. His shafts are quanta of will. It is thus shown that this fundamental formula of magical work, analysis, and synthesis preserves through the aeons. One may now consider the hermetic marriage itself. This part of the card has been simplified from The Chemical Marriage of Christian Rosenkreutz, a masterpiece too lengthy and diffuse to quote usefully in this place. But the essence of the analysis is the continuous seesaw of contradictory ideas. It is a glyph of duality. The royal persons concerned are the black or Moorish king with a golden crown and a white queen with a silver crown. He is accompanied by the red lion and she by the white eagle. Okay, let's see if I can't see what I'm showing you, so I hope I'm showing you the card. Okay. These are symbols of the male and female principles in nature. They are, therefore, equally, in various stages of manifestation, sun and moon, fire and water, air and earth. In chemistry, they appear as acid and alkali, or more deeply, metals and nonmetals. Taking those words in their widest philosophical sense to include hydrogen on one hand and oxygen on the other. In this aspect, the hooded figure represents the protean element of carbon, seed of all organic life. Carbon, that magical element of earth. Earth, which has a unique and transcendently mystical connection to spirit. Kether is in Malkuth as Malkuth is in Kether, only after a different manner. highest high and the lowest low are connected. The princesses of the tarot are thrones of the aces. Princesses are treated differently. They don't have zodiac signs that they rule. They rule quadrants of space. The symbolism of male and female is carried on further by the weapons of the king and queen. He bears the sacred lance and she the holy grail. Their other hands are joined as consenting to marriage. Their weapons are supported by twin children whose positions are countercharged. For the white child not only holds the cup, but carries roses, while the black child holding his father's lance also carries the club, an equivalent symbol. At the bottom of the whole is the result of the marriage, a primitive and pantomorphic form. It is the winged Orphic egg. This egg represents the essence of all life, which comes under this formula of male and female. Sun and moon. Okay. It carries on the symbolism of the serpents, which the king's robe is embroidered, and of the bees, which adorn the mantle of the queen. That's the emperor and the Empress cards there. This egg is gray, mingling white and black. Thus it signifies the cooperation of the three supernals of the tree of life. White, gray, and black. Kether-Hokmah-Bina. The color of the serpent is purple, Mercury in the scale of the queen. It is the influence of that god manifested in nature, whereas the wings are tipped with crimson, the color in the king's scale of Bina, the great mother. In this symbol is therefore a complete glyph of the equilibrium necessary to begin the great work. I'm going to repeat that, because this is what's going to join it to what we're going to talk about tomorrow. In this symbol is therefore a complete glyph of the equilibrium necessary to begin the great work. But as to the final mystery, that is left unsolved. Perfect is the plan to produce life, but the nature of this life is concealed. It is capable of taking any possible form, but what form? That is dependent upon the influences attendant on gestation. The figure in the air presents some difficulty. The traditional interpretation of the figure is he is Cupid, and it is not at first clear what Cupid has to do with Gemini. No light is thrown upon this point by consideration of the position of the path on the tree of life, for Gemini leads from Bina, number 3, to Tiferet, number 6. That's that first long diagonal. Accordingly arises the whole question of Cupid. Roman gods represent a more material aspect of the Greek gods from whom they are derived, in this case, Eros. Eros is the son of Aphrodite, and tradition varies as to whether his father was Ares, Zeus, or Hermes, that is, Mars, Jupiter, or Mercury. His appearance on this card suggests that Hermes is the true sire, and this view is confirmed by the fact that it is not altogether easy to distinguish him from the child Mercury, for they have in common wantonness, irresponsibility, and love of playing tricks. But in this image are peculiar characteristics. He carries bow and arrows in a golden quiver. He is sometimes represented with a torch. He has golden wings and is blindfolded. From this it may appear that he represents intelligence and at the same time unconscious. The intelligent or the at the same time unconscious will of the soul to unite itself with all and sundry. It has been explained in the general formula with regard to the agony of separateness. For this is the joy of the world, that the pain of division is as nothing, and the joy of dissolution all. But I digress. No very special importance is attached to Cupid in alchemical figures. Yet, in one sense, he is the source of all action, the libido to express 0 as 2. From another point of view, he may be regarded as the intellectual aspect of the influence of Binah upon Tifereth, because that's the path. In one tradition, the title of the card is The Children of the Voice, the Oracle of the Mighty Gods. From this point of view, he is a symbol of inspiration, descending upon the hooded figure who is, in this instance, a prophet, operating the conjunction of the king and queen. His arrow represents the spiritual intelligence necessary in alchemical operations, rather than the mere hunger to perform them. On the other hand, the arrow is particularly a symbol of direction, and it is therefore proper to put the word thelema in Greek letters on the quiver. It is also to be observed that the opposite card, here we go, it is also to be observed that the opposite card, Atu 14, Sagittarius, it means the bearer of the arrow, or archer, a figure who does not appear in any form in Atu 14. These two cards are so complementary they cannot be studied separately for full interpretation. And that's why we're going to see what Crowley has to say about the coagula part of the magic pairing of Gemini and Sagittarius, the lovers in the art card, Salve et Coagula. It might be an interesting, we'll take that up tomorrow. It might be an interesting exercise, if you haven't done this before, to meditate on, to take a look at, to analyze where the sun was when you were born. What is your sun sign, in other words? And I'm sure most of you have already done some kind of self-analysis, if no more than reading your daily horoscope and what the general buzzwords are for your sign of the zodiac. But then pair it up with its opposite. And you might want to look at it sort of in terms of, well, this is what is sort of obvious to me, my sun sign, say I'm Cancer. I'm all of these Cancer traits and the influence of Cancer as my different planets move in and out of it is meaningful to me. But I'm also, from behind, perhaps subjectively, influenced by Capricorn. So I'm not just a Cancer, I'm Cancer Capricorn. But anyway, that's something for you to think about. Wow, this has been a pretty long sort of parking lot talk today. And obviously I'm bundled up because it froze last night. And but I can't complain when I hear everybody else. I'm just fine, everyone, don't worry. Until tomorrow, when the sun actually really goes into Sagittarius, I'll be back and to share Crowley's few words on the art card, the coagula card. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself. If I happen to get cut off, that's what's important. Be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.